Hey everyone, welcome to the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream. I'm your host, Jeff Freeman, as always, and Tom Burns sitting over there in the co-host chair.
Hello, hello.
Top pocket find. We have two for you tonight. And I am so excited. We've been waiting for this one for quite some time. Once we talked to Laird Niven and Emma Culligan about coming on the show tonight, and I have been so excited to have them on. What do you think, Tom? Is this
For people who like science and people who like history and who think that there's more to this than just maybe a treasure, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. So without further ado, let's bring them on. Mr. Laird Niven and Emma Culligan, how are you both doing tonight?
Doing well.
Yeah.
Doing well.
I am so glad you guys came on the show because I tell you, honestly, and I hope I say this correctly, but Emma, we kind of voted you as Rookie of the Year.
Yay.
Season 10.
I'll take it.
Sorry, Laird, you were not eligible.
No, we're not eligible, sir. Ever since the boots incident, I don't know, but
You were in running for the MVP though, Laird. So
yes. Yeah. So, but I tell you, really, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We've been really looking forward to this one and get to an opportunity because you've been on the show, Laird, a few times, and we love it. And we love having you come on and giving us your insights. But we have yet to really get to meet and hear more from Emma and, all of the things going on with you. But before we get started, I did want to say also, for those of you who may not know, there is some really terrible things happening up in Nova Scotia right now, and it is the fires that have broken out up there. They've been going on for a couple of days now, and I guess we just heard moments ago about a hospital being evacuated.
Yeah, it's the Shelburne Hospital. So that's where I grew up.
Oh, wow.
To kind of illustrate it, Shelburne's along the harbor here, and the fire is coming up here, and the hospital's at the other end, and it's being evacuated. So that's a real concern.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
I suppose that depending on which way the wind's blowing and carrying the smoke too away for people in the hospital, it's not a good situation.
Yeah.
And you could lose power lines too, which again would not be a good situation.
Yeah, if the hospital loses power,
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Yeah, I tell you, it's our prayers are out there for everybody. We've got some of the folks that are, in my Discord channel. I have a Discord channel over here, and we have a few folks in there that are from the area as well. I know Kat was very concerned about getting evacuated last night.
Yeah.
So it's something of concern, folks. And so if you would keep your thoughts and your prayers for everyone that's being affected up there in Nova Scotia right now by this. Fortunately, Tom is safe, and you guys where you're at, you're okay. Nothing right now that's threatening. Okay.
If the Shelburne fire comes this far, there's huge trouble.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Wow. Well, all right. So thank you guys so very much. We've got a lot of questions, and we asked a lot of folks to send us their questions and things ahead of time, because honestly, the chat ends up going by so fast we can't keep up with it during the show. And I just realized that I had forgotten to bring up Facebook so that I could actually see who's. I know, right? I did it again. It's happened a couple of times.
You bring on the big stars and you choke.
Well, see, that's exactly right. You're exactly right. You're going to hear a double talking going on for a couple seconds until I get it muted. There we go. All right, now I can see who's chatting over there. So we got a lot.
And just for a lot of people send in questions about the circular structure on Lot 5. We all know from watching the season finale that they have yet to go back in and get their hands dirty back in there again. So don't be disappointed if we don't ask any questions about Lot 5, because Lot 5 is not a finished topic yet.
That's correct.
So I just thought to get that clear for everybody that's sitting out there going, oh, why aren't they going to ask my question? That's why.
Yeah.
We're not going to put them in that spot.
Yeah, no, exactly. And obviously, there are, like Tom just said, there are many things that were kind of left over from last season. And we have to be very careful about that. This is why we wait until the end of the season to have folks like Laird and Emma come on so that they can talk more about what took place during the season. Now, like you said, if there's things left over, we can't talk about that maybe aired in season 11. We're assuming there is a season 11, right?
Who knows?
Who knows? So if there is a season 11 and and it's aired then that would put them in a difficult position, and we don't want to do that. So so Laird, we know that you've been, we've got several videos that we've done with you, a couple. You've been on the show a few times, and we thank you so very, very much for that. So we've already kind of gone through how you got to the island, how you were working with Tom and stuff way back in the day. But we haven't heard anything about Emma. And Emma, if you if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about you and maybe your schooling or whatever, and how did you get involved with being on Oak Island of all places?
Well, it was kind of a fluke, to be honest. And my schooling, I studied engineering and archaeology at Memorial University, which is in Newfoundland. Great school. And while I was taking one of my archaeology classes, one of my professors noticed that I wasn't an archaeology student strictly. And so she asked what I was. I was in engineering. She's like, okay, are you good at chemistry? And I was like, I'm pretty good at it. Like, I was like, yeah, decent. So she asked me to be one of her research students. And that's when I started my experience with metallurgy. So that was 2014 onwards? Yeah. So years of just analyzing iron, but using a scanning electron microscope, which is a little bit different from an XRF, but similar.
The crystal.
Yeah. So Dr. Brousseau on the show, she uses an SEM. So that's what I used before. So it's kind of a learning experience to use the XRF and the CT scan, because I never actually used those two either before. But similar mechanics, and it's really fun to use. a lot of fun toys.
Yeah, excellent.
How did
you get on Oak Island?
Am I allowed to name drop?
Sure.
There's a woman named Imelda who's involved with the show, and I was friends with her, and she knew I was interested in archaeology and engineering, and she said, "You give me your resume. Give me your resume. I might get you a PA position on Oak Island, and you can."
So a PA is the lowest position in the film industry.
Okay, all right.
You're a gopher.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, including our executive director, that's how they work their way up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So initially she just said, you could run errands for the archaeology team if you're interested. I was like, I can do that. Like, it's outside in the summer with the archaeology team. That'd be fun. And so I gave her my resume, and somehow it ended up at Laird's desk.
A couple of years later.
Yeah. Because that year it was too late. I think I gave it to her later in the season.
And we were looking for people because we had the CT scan, which I could run-ish. But the XRF,
I can start the truck, but I can't drive it, right?
Yeah. The XRF and the XRD, there's no way. And I told them we needed to get somebody. And so I started going over CVs that we'd received. And I saw Emma's, and
I'm surprised you actually read it.
And she had been doing work with Portuguese nails, looking for gold on Portuguese nails because they were made in the same forge as gold working. And I said, if you can speak intelligently about iron and gold on Oak Island, they're going to love you. And then I found out she lived 10 minutes away.
Don't
wow.
Well, they don't know which way.
Don't come knocking on my door, please.
No.
Yeah.
And so I sent her a message.
Yeah.
And when you received the message,
I thought it was spam mail.
I deleted it.
Yeah. It's like, hi. It's like, I have a job for you working at XRF, XRD, CT,
on Oak Island.
On Oak Island. But like 3 equipment that you would never see in the same room at a university lab.
It's $1 million worth of equipment.
Yeah. Just like, this can't be real. No.
Yeah. But well, here she is.
Yeah.
Here she is.
So you literally climbed the ladder into a dream job.
Yeah.
So now, had you heard about Oak Island? I mean, being in the area, did you, grow up listening to, hearing about it and stuff?
They sell the keychains at gas stations. Like, I can see it.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you guys. Guess what her first language is?
Oh, I don't know. French?
Nope.
Really? Take a guess, Tom?
Portuguese.
Nope.
Oh,
Italian.
Nope.
Wow.
Right.
No, not Gaelic.
No,
Nope.
sorry.
Japanese.
What is it?
Japanese.
Really?
I grew up
Wow.
in Japan for 15
You
years.
did?
Yeah.
Now, there's a fun fact we would never have guessed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at 15, she had to learn English.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I thought I knew English, but when I moved here, I clearly didn't.
Yeah.
No one can understand.
Well, you're in the Maritimes, so it's kind of,
I know the looks of like, where are you from?
stay where you're to, and I'll come where you're at.
Oh, man. That's awesome. That is really cool. That's why I love asking that question when we get started, because you never know what you're going to find out. That is really cool. Wow. And I was reminded, Laird, there's probably a lot of people that are watching the show that have not seen the first 2 times that you've been on, or 3 times, and that you haven't heard your story. So let's go ahead. Let's listen, tell everybody a little bit about how, I guess, before there was ever even a dream of a show, back in the Dan and Fred days, you were getting involved, right?
Yeah. In 2008, I received a call from, that was almost before email, maybe not, from Dan Blankenship. No, sorry. Dan Blankenship contacted the company I was working for and needed an archaeologist, because they just switched from the Treasure Trove Act to the Oak Island Act.
Okay.
And part of that was you needed an archaeologist to go over. So I met Dan on the island, and I tell people he was really nice when I met him, and then I hear stories about other people who came on the island unannounced, and the reception they got from Dan it wasn't as civil. Let's put it that way.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and so Dan just gave us free reign on his lot, and we did the survey over 2 or 3 days. And then, as we were saying goodbye to Dan, he said, "Oh, I thought you were going to be here a lot longer." And I went, "Oh, damn it! More time." Yeah, and then I submitted my report, and I knew about Oak Island and about Dan's work, but nothing in depth. And then the next year, I got a call from Fred Nolan to come and do work for the same reason on his property. But Fred had his museum at the end of the causeway.
Right.
So he was allowed to cross the causeway, but he wasn't allowed to go on Dan's property. So we had to go down along the water until we got to Center Road, and then we could walk to his property.
Wow.
Same thing. Spent the afternoon with Fred. Nothing on it, nothing to report as far as I was concerned. And then a couple of years later, I got a call from Robert Young. For the same reason, he wasn't allowed on the island roads at all. He wasn't even allowed across the causeway.
Wow.
So we had to take a boat with my son and a friend of his and look at his property. And that's the first time I saw the depression in Lot 5. And he was so proud about he tagged every oak on his property and gave it a distinct number. And yeah, it was really interesting. He didn't need an archaeologist. He just wanted to show his property, kind of share what he thought it was about.
Right.
And then season 3, somebody from Prometheus called me and asked me if I'd be interested. And I said, sure. And they never called me back. Season 4, they called again. And I said, sure. And then, of course, the first thing I had to do was go out and look at this feature that they had. So I went out with my shorts and T-shirt on and sneakers, not knowing I was going to get filmed, and got mic'd up and had to walk into that scene. The mosquitoes were killing me. And then Rick lent me his boots, his size 14 boots. I wear 8.5.
Oh man,
they're massive.
And then I kind of fell into the hole and said, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And we later found out that Dan Hensky dug it out.
Oh really?
He was right there. He didn't say a word. Yeah, that was my debut. That was
Yeah,
before.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then from there, yeah, you've really done a great job, and we love having you there. And that's the part about having archaeologists on the show that I think a lot of people have to look at in a good light, because of the fact that we know that the Rick and Marty are very good about preserving the history and preserving the things that are there.
Mhm.
And you guys bring another level of that goes beyond everything, not only preserving things, but documenting every step of the way, which
Yeah.
is perfect.
Yeah, we show them why. Yes, we're slow, but look what happens when we are slow. Look what information we get.
Yep.
And they're getting it. It's just they want it. They want it now.
Well, so do we, but yeah, I
Yeah.
know we've talked about you guys having your own show for archaeology, and you're like, yeah, but most of it's going to be so boring.
I would love to watch that. That's like my favorite part in like thriller or mystery movies is when they're going through all the files.
It would
Yep.
be
The
similar.
montage.
It'd be similar to the channels where you watch Waves.
Yeah. Okay. You can go to sleep to that.
But yeah, but the finds are so cool, and that's something that I know that I think I think it might have been me that made the mistake, and the first time you were on was saying something about treasure hunting, and you went, yeah, no, I'm not a treasure hunter. Definitely not. And I guess that was a little bit of a stigma that might have been attached for you, and being an archaeologist, getting involved with treasure hunters.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that. It was a conscious decision because it's kind of the kiss of death in many ways. But I was near the end of my career, so
See what you have to look forward to, Emma?
yeah,
It's different for me because
it's very much different for her.
the data that I'm collecting is rich. So
Yeah.
And we're looking for partners to work with those machines.
So my area is more accepted. They're like, we see why you're doing this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, we've been talking about other archaeologists who use metal detectors. They actually use metal detectors because, I mean, Helen has said there are things Gary found that we would never find. The only reason we're on part of Lot 5 is because Gary went through it with a metal detector.
It's together.
We would not have tested it at all. So now, if I found treasure archaeologically, that would be fun.
It'd be great.
So
Yeah, definitely. And we hope you do.
So do I.
But it's really the history, and that's kind of what you guys, I love about this. So many people that we've talked to that love this show, and there's millions, of course, but so many of us are, initially it was about find the treasure, find the treasure, find the treasure. And then it became, wait a minute, this is a history, a whole new history that's unfolding here.
Yeah.
That, the who, what, why, where, and when that we hear Rick mention quite often. And that has grabbed us all, I think a lot of us, and really that's what I want to know now. Yeah. Like Maddie says, what do we want them to find treasure? Oh, absolutely. We want them to be vindicated that this was all for something. For sure. But I think that the true treasure may be the history that's unfolding here.
Yeah. I remember at the end of season 4, I went, well, we're not coming back here. And then of course it was the Cofferdam and Smith's Cove. And for me, that's when everything changed. That was like, oh crap, something happened here.
I mean, myself, I grew up here in the Maritimes, right? I'm born and bred, brought up here. Saw the Oak Island story. Thought, oh yeah, it was kind of cool. Let's see if they can find a treasure. And it's morphed into so much more than that. The history lessons. I'm thinking this place is only like, a few hours away from here. And this kind of thing is happening. Like, wow.
Yeah. Archaeologically. Oh my God, my words.
In Japanese.
考古学的.
There you go.
It's an easier word, to be honest. Yeah, the archaeology is interesting. Geologically too, it's interesting. Like there's so much, just everything about the island is really interesting. And that's the thing. It's like the treasure, sure, it's an aspect of why I'm there. But again, the data, like everything that comes into the lab is worth analyzing and worth recording. It's just a rich site.
It's almost too much information coming in.
Yeah.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Emma, have they ever brought anything in, just kind of thrown it on your desk and said, "See if you can figure out what this is"?
All the time, every day.
Yeah. Have they ever thrown in something on your desk that they already knew what it was and it was a joke?
We haven't
No,
done
I
that
think
yet.
so.
No, but they did find some things from the early 1900s or late 1800s. They brought in steel wires. They're like, we don't know what era of the dig or the hunt.
I will admit the weirdest thing I ever CT scanned, this is before Emma, was it was a corn kernel that they found at the bottom of 10X or somewhere like that. And they were so interested in it. And it turned out that the cameramen were eating corn nuts and spitting them down, just sucking them off and spitting them down.
They carbon dated.
So they got me the CT scan, and they were going to send it off for C14. But
Oh my God.
Corn
Oh, that's too funny.
nut.
I was going to ask you for a funny story, and there we got it already.
we got
Corn nuts are banned on the island now.
All
Well,
you
that
had
was
to do
Scott. That was
all you had
Scott
to do was check the best before date on the package. You need to know.
No.
That was Scott Barlow, by the way. He said
I
they're.
don't like either. That's right. It's hot.
Oh man, that's funny. So this lab. This is something that took place here now over the last little while, and there was a few people that asked this question about the lab, but now you have all. It used to be XRF. You had the XRF going, and then we've seen more pieces come in and more pieces come in. You guys now have a lab that kind of stands out in Nova Scotia, I would think, right?
Yeah, I think a little broader than Nova Scotia.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
It's one of
we're
the
not
things
in there yet.
No, one of the things I was going to ask you, because I know Terry DeVoe did a section or a presentation on the finds down around Cape Sable.
Yeah.
And he was mentioning he sent some of that stuff up to you folks to have a look at.
Yeah, that was the Hawk Beach. That was the roofing tile.
Ah.
I had a bunch of roofing tile from that same place, but I think I may have given it to the museum. That's an interesting problem.
I take it you're getting stuff from beyond Nova Scotia now then for the lab as well.
Oh wow.
Well, that's good.
Yep. Yeah,
So
we're trying to make partners as far away as we can.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is the lab like a 12-month operation now, or is it?
I believe that's the plan.
That's the
That's
plan.
the goal?
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, plus you have the new building. The new building going.
You guys knew about the new building.
That's what Tom was talking about. I think. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
The new building, yeah. And maybe in a couple of days we can do a quick video walkthrough of the new lab.
Oh, that would be excellent.
It's a really nice lab.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We won't move in for a while yet.
No. But conservation analysis.
Yeah, we want to do our own
records.
Conservation.
Wow.
A whole bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Nova Scotia desperately needs one.
As a service to other archaeologists, other universities. Yeah.
That's great. That's really cool. I could see the island becoming, after the show, becoming a center for study of different types of things like that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that happening.
We can't take credit for it, but the person who was responsible for it wouldn't want us to mention their name.
Okay, no problem. All right, we'll breeze by that.
But it's there and it's active, and that's what counts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I see you got a room up there for me too. So when I visit, I can stay in one of the rooms.
There's a shower.
There is a shower.
See, there we go. All right, I'm ready. In the process of some of this, and this was another one of the questions on here. This is for you, Emma. When you talk about like the gold that was found in the wood, and you look at that and you talk about why in it, and the question is written this way: why is 0.11%, 0.11% a lot of parts per billion? I work with gas detection monitors, and I've seen you guys have had the MSA Altair 4X and stuff like that out on the island. So, and they work in parts per million, parts per billion in many cases. So tell us a little bit about that whole parts per billion. Why is having a small percentage, but a parts per billion of gold in a piece of wood, how can we relate that to us common folk that don't understand that?
So it's a bit difficult. Well, not difficult, different when you do so I go by weight percent or by atom percent and not by ppms or parts per million to parts per billion, because mine is an average to that area. So it can change depending on what point you're hitting. But parts per billion, parts per million, that's more of an isotopic analysis, more quantitative, and it's pretty set in value. So when I say 0.11, I still see it as small, not a huge number, because it's going to change. If I shift that point just even by like a micrometer, it's going to change that composition from like 0 or to 1. Like it's, so I go by, I don't know how to explain that.
Well, they're comparing, I believe, the water data.
The water data.
To comparing and contrasting with what you
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
The water data.
So what Ian Spooner is finding in the water, but you're saying it's different.
It's different.
You're looking at this much.
So what I do is also surface analysis. So it's only penetrating just a certain thickness on the surface.
Okay.
Because that was the premise behind the question, was that it was regarding the analysis that was done on the wood that was brought up, right? And it
depends on the material I'm analyzing. It's like if you're shooting a gun at an asphalt road versus shooting a gun through jello, that shot's going to travel differently through, or like shooting it through like a sand lot.
Okay.
And it's kind of similar with an X-ray. Depending on that material, it's going to penetrate a certain depth, or it's going to bounce back a certain way. And iron, it's a really thick, dense material, so it's not going to get too deep in the surface. So it's not without cutting or without damage invading that. So without cutting through that artifact and doing a cross-sectional analysis, I can't say 100%. There's a lot more nuance to what I do. So the values are represented are a bit different from the water analysis, which is isotopic, to mine, which is a bit larger in scale. So 0.11, if I converted it mathematically to parts per billion, it is a lot more. But in my scale, it's still very, very little.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still significant if it's there.
It's there. Like it is there. Like it was enough for me to confirm that, there is gold present. But yeah, it's small.
If you want another funny story.
Yes, please.
I was there when she found that out.
Oh, really?
Remember your exact words.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently.
She didn't know what to do.
I was like, let me check it.
So I was there going, we have to call production.
I was like,
we have to let them know.
Like triple check.
We called production, and then 10 minutes later, we were up heading to the money pit. To the big scene with the.
That was
Are you aware of anybody else in your field that's even found that type of gold residue on wood anywheres?
On wood? I know there's a lot of studies of gold or just unexpected metals in trees, because it's like a filter that absorbs it.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing. You can detect gold in the leaves of trees.
Yeah. So there have been studies about it. The only problem with, I have limits to the scale of analysis with the XRF, because they want to know if that gold is refined or not. It was like, well, I can't study that because it's so tiny in a particle size that I can't tell if that particle is refined or natural. So I'm going to pass that on to isotopic.
Okay. That was going to be one of my other questions too, is that based on, I know they talk about different types of gold that may have appeared on Oak Island at one point in time, or just were used at some point in time. If the analysis is that fine that you can maybe even tell.
I could do in a large scale sample. So
she spent her winter collecting and studying gold.
Collecting. Nice.
I know it's not a shabby hobby. So
yeah, people bring in gold. My neighbor asked me, if I'd be interested in some Gold River gold, and he actually went down and panned until he got some.
Yeah.
Gave it to me, and I gave it to Emma.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
The people that walked in with gold, I was shocked. That was nice.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yes, I can take that for payment. Sure. Wow, that's fantastic. So yeah, we're really excited about that. I think everyone that watches the show, and again, that your realm of it, the archaeologist. I know when it happened back when the Mi'kmaq pottery was found.
Yep.
And then it was the all whole hum, the drawdown. Everybody, even Rick and Marty and everybody was pretty devastated about what happened then. And we won't get into all of that.
Mhm.
But the loss of the archaeologist on the island at the time, with the exception of yourself, and then it was like we wanted everybody to come back. We're like, when are the archaeologists going to come back? Because it's
Right.
such an important part of it.
That was a perceived loss.
Mm.
I know I get a lot of. I got someone recently about me firing Miriam.
Oh, yeah.
So Miriam went back to school. Liz went back to school. And Helen had other things to do and said, if you need me, just call me.
Yeah.
So nobody got fired.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was that scene of watching them all, or right there at the bottom of the swamp and standing there and then saying goodbye and everything. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, what's happening here?
Yeah. And I think
yeah.
part of that too is for our entertainment value.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like there's two things going on, right? The
Yeah, and
search
we have to respect. We have the search going on, and then production has the story they have to tell.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they can only work with what we give them. And
Yeah.
sometimes what we give them is
limited. It's not good.
is limited. And I wouldn't want their job. I'll say
No,
that much.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No, that's exactly though. But like I said, the archaeology side of the I'm going to say treasure hunt, even though I shouldn't. The archaeology side of that is become so important to all of us watching the show, and to see everyone coming back and getting back on, looking for things and working with your trowel again and all that kind of stuff was fantastic. We'd love to see that happening, and that was and hopefully it'll never happen again. You guys will be there and stay there for the rest of the time that this is a show.
And I genuinely believe that we're contributing.
Mm-hmm.
We're
absolutely,
without a doubt.
Yeah, we're not. I'm not going through the motions.
Right.
As a viewer of the show, you guys are definitely contributing.
Absolutely.
I can tell you that. Yeah.
That's why we were happy to see you back.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
Oh,
every little piece of
we
pottery.
ain't seen nothing yet.
Yay!
So,
all right. Stay tuned, right?
You wouldn't care to elaborate on that, would you?
No. Nice try.
Nice try.
Nice try. There you go. Wow,
you got to ask, right? You got to ask, right?
Yeah, we might get that several times now. Nice try. One question, and this was Mary asked this question about the Ball property. Are you done on the Ball Foundation, the Ball property, or do you think there may be more to come yet? And if this is part of maybe future stuff, I understand if you have to say stay tuned.
I don't anticipate any more work in the immediate future.
Okay.
On the Ball property.
All right.
Would you like to go back there?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think there's more to uncover?
Oh, look, it was sometime last year. So I've done a lot of work in Birchtown in Shelburne County.
Okay.
Which is probably all burned now.
Oh my God.
And the leader of the Black Loyalists in Birchtown was Stephen Block. And I was sitting there one day and went, wait a minute, because he disappeared around 1790. And Samuel Ball, we don't really know exactly when he showed up. Mm-hmm. We know he was there. He was on Oak Island in 1791. And I kind of went, wait a minute, Stephen Block, Samuel Ball, maybe they're the same person. But the dates don't quite work out.
Okay.
Let's see. So so I'd like to go back. We've done a lot of work with Samuel Ball trying to figure out how much land he cultivated, and I figured out once if he was growing cabbages, how much cabbage could he grow, and how much sauerkraut would that be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to take a little more work, like in England, to look for records related to Samuel Ball.
Wow, interesting.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. So, that's good about the about the Ball property, because that was something that when we watched you go through the big excavation of the foundation and everything, that right there brought a lot of good information out, I think, personally, um, and really showed I think to a lot of people, this is kind of where we really got exposed to what is being revealed by the archaeology on the island, I think. And that's what really drew me in, was that, and it just became a fascination to find out. I mean, I remember watching it with the little flags when you guys first went out there and cleared a few trees. There was the flags around, and then all of a sudden there's a whole basement coming out of this.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I bet.
Now, that being said, any work on Lot 26 is still Samuel Ball, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the wharfs and all that. But you talk about this, the cabbage farming, and the sauerkraut, things like that would be a very important thing for sailors.
Yeah, this is we don't necessarily know that he grew cabbage.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you know what? I mean, one thing we're looking into is pollen analysis, because pollen analysis can give you basically a profile of the vegetation over time. So you could see it going from forest and then up. If he grew cabbages, we may see that.
Well, it makes sense because they would inhabit it. I mean, locally to me here, there's an island we call Long Island just off the shore here. And it was inhabited by loyalists. It was basically stripped clear of trees, turned into farmland. And if you looked at it today, you would never know there was a soul there.
Yeah, yeah. So you'll see that in a pollen profile.
This question was from Cindy, and I think you kind of talked about it already a little bit, Emma. But she said, "Emma, you have the coolest job. What was your motivation for developing this unique career path?" And I mean, you talked about the schooling and stuff like that, but what was the motivation behind going that way?
I was always really into history, and I was always really into math. Like, I loved maths, physics, chemistry. Well, actually, I didn't take chemistry in high school.
You didn't have to.
No,
you just knew it.
Yeah, they just let me go into first year uni. But yeah, but I was great at it.
Not surprised.
But no, like, I love history. I love old architecture, and originally I was like, I wanted to work in structural engineering for archaeological sites to analyze, look at old structures,
right,
old historical sites. But then, that's why I went into civil engineering, and that's why I was doing archaeology. I sort of wanted to make my own niche of the liaison between preservation and development. I worked on a lot of construction sites like that. I've had years of construction work experience, and I've also worked for archaeologists, and there's always that kind of butting of heads between progress and preservation, which is just unnecessary. So I was working towards that originally, and kind of stumbled into this whole metallurgy. So
yeah, and I would say you stumbled a little bit on that word, but for me, archeometallurgist. I'm like, every time I would say that on the air during the season when we were talking about all the episodes, I stumbled on it every single time.
Well, it's one of those things where, who was it? Because someone called me while we were filming. Someone said, refer to me as an archaeologist, and they're just kind of off the top of my head. I had to correct them. Like, I'm not an archaeologist, because I'm not really a field archaeologist. I'm specifically in archaeological science is my expertise.
Yeah, it's the perfect description of your job.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
The archaeology of metal, really.
Yeah, and although now it is broad, and the study of archaeometry is another thing where we're kind of taking in data of materials, basically. And so that is the field that I work in, is archeometry.
Archaeometry.
Yeah,
I like that. That's another new word. I have to work on.
Not even going to try that.
Yeah.
But so that is the broad field that I work in. But yeah, so specifically metallurgy, archaeometallurgy. But now I'm taking in dirt. I'm taking in ceramics, glass.
Yeah. So when Gary goes out and digs up a metal artifact, he's now been taught to take some of the dirt as well. So she can analyze it and
eliminate from
discriminate it
yeah.
out of what she's analyzing.
So we noticed that on some of the shows last year. They were, in addition to the artifact, they were collecting dirt. So that's the reason.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Em, is there anything that's been brought into your lab that you've looked at and went, wow, that's not supposed to, anything that jumps out that springs to your mind, you think, whoa, this is cool. What's this doing here?
That's kind of the gist of Oak Island.
Kind of.
What was that grill? What was that, man?
Oh, has it been on TV?
I don't know. It's too late now. It's not going to.
The grill or the grate? The iron,
grate.
The grate, the cast iron grate.
Lot 25.
Yeah, the beeswax.
Yeah.
Was that on TV?
Well, there was an item at the end of the very last, the season finale. There was sitting on the table, all the items, well, not all, but quite a few of the important items were laid out on the table. And there were 2 items there that we had never seen on the show. And the grate was on the table, or what looked like it. Was it a
stove?
Was kind of a big,
yeah, it was yeah.
So that was really interesting because I took samples from scrapings of the oxide and a bit of the original iron as well. Graded it up, ground it up into a powder form, ran it under XRD, and found beeswax, which so beeswax is and the material itself, the grate, was old,
right? And
beeswax, coinciding with that era, was kind of an expensive, not material, but like if you were poor, you weren't going to be using it because the beeswax is being used as upkeep for the grate.
Yeah.
So you're like, if you were middle lower class, you wouldn't be using that beeswax to clean.
Very good point.
Grate, your stove grate.
Right.
But that's what it was being used for. And so that finding that, I was like, oh wow. And I didn't expect to find beeswax, but like, yeah, that was really cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you want another funny story,
yes, please.
Yep.
Helen recently showed up with a couple of fake doubloons.
Yeah.
And she got them in the Annapolis Royal Farmers Market, and she traded beeswax for them.
No way.
All around.
Yeah.
But they were fake?
Oh yeah, no, she knew that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, good.
Yeah.
She would too. She,
Yeah.
She'd be able to spot that right away, I would imagine.
And what was the non-metallic iron that you had? What was that called?
Austenite.
Austenite.
It's a type of phase. It's iron. A lot of cast iron, early modern steel. It's just a slow cooling iron that has little to no magnetism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Austenite. So that was cool too.
So where would that come from? What would that be used for?
A lot of things, but it was the combination of the material, it being austenite, even the beeswax. It was old cast iron, or because it was pretty corroded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were having a hard time look at that because you could see, I thought they were well points. I'm pretty sure those are, but like me and Carmen were having debates about it.
Sorry, I forgot to tell my wife I'm on a podcast.
No. You didn't get permission.
So what's your favorite piece of equipment, Emma, in the lab?
Ooh.
Something. Wow.
I'll tell you why she has a hard time answering that. Because she sits, CT scanner here. She sits here and she operates all 3 machines from the same computer, except loading.
I never have to choose.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like them all for different reasons because there's just, if I want to know the mineralogy, I'd go to XRD, and that's really cool because
that's my wife.
That's your text.
So with the exception of an electron microscope, what if you had a dream piece, what might it be and what would you use it for?
We actually had that discussion with Brooker.
Yeah.
And they convinced us that it wouldn't, they sell them, but they convinced us that it just wouldn't give us enough data, more data, unique data,
Mm.
to justify its purchase.
So think about the SEM is like it's a real small scale. So you're looking at the microstructure of a grain structure of iron, and it tells you, I don't know, it can tell you how hot an item has been heated, or if it was cold treated, or if something is truly an alloy or not.
Mhm.
But you can also, it's just, I don't know.
It can do an elemental analysis too.
Yeah, it can, the lighter elements.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm like, it can tell carbon, oxygen.
Right.
That's the things I'd be like interested in. So that's one thing. The XRF, it can't tell lighter elements. So like oxygen, carbon, I can't read, which is kind of the basis of steel.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that is out of the picture. But like heavier elements, I'm privy to. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
by knowing all those different compositions and how they would have been heated or cold, you can put a date on things then, or an approximate date based on the methods used.
But it's also when you're because it's such a narrow focus, it's on a really small section of the artifact
on the SEM.
On the SEM, where the XRF is the whole picture. So they both have their benefits, which is great. So we have Dr. Brousseau at St. Mary's University who has an SEM. So if we ever have huge doubt, or if we want extra confirmation or quantification, we can just send that to her and add it with my results.
We should have sent you a picture, Jeff. We found a token. It didn't make the show. It was the CT scan showed that it was 1813 Sir Isaac Brock token.
Oh, I can flip the picture.
Flip the picture.
Like show the screen like that. No, never mind.
No. Isaac Brock, Tom knows Isaac Brock. But it had a square hole nailed through it. And Emma did the scanning XRF of the token, and you could see where the nail went through. You can see
the puncture mark.
This puncture mark highlighted with iron. So you could see that it was an iron nail that went through.
So you have a copper nail, and you can see that
actually left residue on the around the hole.
You see that. So that's the difference between the SEM and the XRF, where they both have their benefits. They're both really useful, but one is more the big picture, and you can get the smaller picture. It just takes long scans. If I want like a really detailed analysis, which in the TV world you don't have much time.
Yeah.
But we're working on it.
Well, the other cool thing is that Emma can load the XRF and then run it from home too.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, nice.
So before I go to bed, I put on a scan.
Yeah.
The job never stops, does it? Well, you know what? When it's something that you love, it's not a job, right? So.
No, yeah.
But what's really cool is we used to come in and say, "Oh, this is a piece of iron. Oh, this is a piece of copper," and we kind of stopped saying that. Kind of just bring it in and wait to be told what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we know that there's an awful lot of things that come through there that don't make the show. I mean, on the season finale, we heard something about the what was it? The 800 or 900 items that were basically found during season 10. And of course, we only saw a small portion of them because a lot of them were modern nails or pull tabs or whatever that we might have found. So a lot of that stuff would be crossing your desk as well, I assume now, right? So
yeah, and that includes everything we found archaeologically as well. It all falls under the same catalog. Yeah, so there's a lot of that.
I still want to scan all the modern stuff too, though.
And things get flagged by production as items of interest, and off they go.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's got to be a certain entertainment value to some stuff, right? So
yeah. But then there are other things that we go back through and say, "Oh crap, we should go back and
or there's other things that never make the show for whatever reason, like little things like blue stone items or whatever that.
I don't know what that
you know who would know that? What? Scott Barlow.
Scott, what is that?
Yeah.
He's in the
Scott
chat.
would know what that is. Okay.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
He's still there. He's still there because he said something about her headphones.
What about my headphones?
He said her headphones, and then he said you need to be on the island to understand laughs out loud. So I don't know.
I wear my headphones.
The lab can be busy, and she just needs to
Focus.
Helps you focus, sure.
I'm on the spectrum, so there's certain noise limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Are you listening to music or?
sometimes, but barely. It's just silence. But it's more just to like keep me in my bubble,
get everything
out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, to drown out
Those
certain people. That's what Scott's saying. That's Scott. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure what he means by that.
I mean Scott himself. Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, whose initials might be SB.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was another item that kind of floated by too that we saw it show up on one of the episodes. And it was when they were talking about items that were found along with this piece here that we got a pretty good description of it, but yet people speculated for weeks after this item on the left to find out if that symbolism on it meant anything or was it related to anything.
Right.
But the item on the right was a complete mystery. It showed up on an episode and we never heard about it again or saw it there again. So that's, yeah. Sometimes certain items don't make the cut, right?
I can't remember.
That was last year.
That was last year. Yeah, that was a year ago.
You've got like 900 artifacts. So.
Exactly. Yeah, I understand that. There was actually another one on the table at the end. And of course, people like me, where I'm zooming in and I'm going, what's this? And there was an item. It looked like it had like 3 or 4 arms on it. It was a small, like a brooch, and it had like 3 or 4 arms with a little circle on the end of each one. And I thought, what is that?
Oh, that had fake pearls.
Yeah, fake pearls.
Yeah. We remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the table. So I'm like, what?
I don't even remember artifacts on the table in the final.
Oh yeah.
They use my stages, but yeah, no.
So one of the questions that Jennifer asked, she said, and this is kind of for both of you. Do you think that the goings on Oak Island have added anything to your respective professions, like more people interested in pursuing education in those fields, or the government companies' willingness to invest in them? So what has this done? Have you been approached by people? Do you think that what you're doing there is helping? And I would say yes, but what's your thought on that? Are people more interested in getting involved in archaeology or archeometallurgist?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, I've lost Facebook friends because of this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But we're getting a really good working relationship with places like Fortress of Louisburg. We're working with Acadia University. I've been in contact with the Black Loyalist Heritage Society in Birchtown about working with them. And I do hear from people that they love the archaeology, and that people that their daughters or sons, well, mostly their daughters actually, are inspired to go into archaeology because of what they've seen on the show. And really,
exactly,
the reason I keep a Facebook profile is I keep a Facebook profile for that reason, to show people what archaeology is.
Yeah. And
encourage them to go into it.
That actually sort of leads into, I guess, a 2-part question for you both as well. One from Lauren, or both from Lauren, I guess, is that if you were going to give, either we were going to give some person a piece of advice on how to get into the archaeology field, or pieces of advice. Laird, from your perspective, what advice would you give a young archaeologist who's trying to break into Oak Island? And from Emma's perspective, what advice would you give to a young person who just wants to get into the field?
Well, send your resume.
Then 2 years later, Laird will read it.
Yeah.
I mean, very broadly, I got into it. Yeah, maybe. I got into it. I was in the photography side of things, and I was taking a part-time course and went to a lecture and heard an archaeologist, went, that's what I want to do. So it's follow your passion, really.
Yeah.
But for practically, it's volunteer where you can. create a niche for yourself. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
I snuck into archaeology by being a photographer.
Yeah.
And kind of shamelessly weaseled my way into it. So follow your passion and just do whatever you can to volunteer and get experience.
And it's pretty much the same for me, because like originally in high school they kept advising me to go into electrical and mechanical engineering. And that's what I went into, and I just was like, nope, this is definitely not it. I really wanted to do civil, or it's because I wanted to do the 2 programs, but engineering is a block program design. So you're not allowed double majors or minors or any of the sort. So I took a year off, figured which school would accept it, chose Memorial. And yeah, civil engineering archaeology. And I think, is kind of create your own niche.
Yeah.
And also experience. The same goes with engineering. You got to get your work experience. And then, especially with lab work and archaeology field work, it's just experience. Yeah. I
know when our son was thinking about what to do for university, he was going to go into engineering. And my wife steered him away from that back into science. And he decided on physics because he said, I read physics for pleasure.
Yeah.
Right. So he's going with his passion.
He reads physics for pleasure.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's fun.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I read pleasure.
Yeah.
I read books about Oak Island for pleasure.
There you go.
I mean, I don't know. That's pretty wild.
And you're coming to visit.
Yes, I am. I will be there in a month. In a couple weeks actually. I'm really looking forward to that. I truly am. And this question here kind of goes along with that one a little bit. So, and I'm just going to say it like this. Okay. If and when the treasure is found, or let's say when the answers are found on Oak Island, and it's time to move to something else. And let's start with you, Emma. What would you like to see yourself doing after the island?
After the island.
That's assuming that you wouldn't be on the island for the rest of your life finding more and more stuff.
Or after the show.
Yeah, or after the show or whatever. What would you like to do next in your career?
In my career? There's a lot, but I'd like to still build data. There's actually a lot that I don't know. I feel like I'd want to dip my toes into the UK because they just have a plethora.
Yeah. Part of what Emma's doing now is taking all this data and trying to build a comparative database.
Yeah.
And the next step for that is to find partners that want to share in this data and share their data.
Yeah, because there's like museums across the world that have the same equipment that I do, like giant museums. And so I'd like to build like a global, I mean, that was the same since I was a research assistant. I really wanted to build a global database. It's kind of a high hopes.
Yeah.
But
do you find that sometimes people with the databases and the equipment, you say the various museums all over the world, are secretive about some of the information they want to give up or not give up, the same as treasure hunters?
They're more open about it. I find if you ask them, they'll give it to you.
Was it good?
Yeah. So
because they're receiving data back.
Exactly. Yeah. So museums are quite. If you want, you just reach out. Is usually the case. Even the London Museum, the British Museum of Archaeology. Like I reach out and they'll reply back in 7 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. That database. I mean, that's something that would help every archaeologist and person looking into this going forward in the future. That's a great inspiration. I love that. That's a great answer.
We're doing work on bricks now. We're doing bricks, and we'll do coarse earthenwares to see where the clay came from. Yeah. So there's a lot of exciting to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I explain to people my hobbies of collecting data, I see the eyes glossy.
When she hears about someone traveling abroad, she says, "Bring me back a rock."
Oh yeah, very good. Yeah.
When Rick and the guys went to Italy,
they're
like, "What do you want?" And it's like a rock. And I don't think I think he thought I wasn't being serious
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he brought me back a necklace and I was like, "Where's my rock?"
Take it back.
I don't want this. What? Come on. What are you doing here?
No,
Didn't
it
you
was
see a
really
rock?
thank you, Rock.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
about Laird Niven? What do you see happening for you? But maybe retiring with all your millions, or
My wife is retiring in 2 weeks.
Oh wow, very nice.
No, I think I've kind of committed to. Well, I haven't talked to them yet, but hopefully committed to the new museum, the new lab, and kind of transitioning, kind of as my wife did. My wife retired when she found the proper people to replace her, and yeah, I think I'm good for another year or two.
Yeah, and with the new construction of the lab, I mean that could morph into its whole
absolutely
new thing of itself.
Yeah, and when and if the show leaves, then there's the whole ball site to go back to, and there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
The science will continue, right? Regardless of
absolutely.
whether it's Oak Island or not, right? You guys are gonna keep being a spot of interest for people that need to get things looked into. So
yeah, just need to find a couple more Emmas, and then we'll be all set.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's kind of the really cool thing about it too, is that we've seen, the different students, I'll say students, but not Helen. I mean, Helen came into the scene and has done a fantastic job. And then, of course, we've seen Liz, and then we also seen Miriam coming on and doing great work. And this is an inspiration. That's kind of where I went with that earlier question from Jennifer was, the inspiration for others. It was like when we had Vanessa Lucido come out. A business owner. She's the CEO of Rock Equipment Company, and she is an inspiration for women that look what you can do. These are the possibilities, and I think that's awesome. I really do. So you are both of you are an inspiration to people, and I think that I commend you for both of you for that. Because it's great work. I mean, it really is. And there are people like me that I would sit through an hour or show watching you guys dig in the dirt. I really would do that. And there's quite a few others that would too, So, you had a trowel. I wanted to ask, I know this is kind of a dumb question, but you had a trowel when you were working on the wall. And it's a trowel that has a curve. It's curved. What is the difference with that?
So that's a Dutch potting trowel, a right-handed Dutch potting trowel, made by a company called Sneerborg. I actually don't know where it is right now.
Where did it go? Beautiful.
Yeah. So it's great when you're so if you have a lot of rocks, you're in confined space. It's great for picking up the dirt.
Oh, yeah, scooping it out, right?
Yeah.
Kind of having a curved hockey stick.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
Flick the puck over the boards.
It does look like a calla lily,
Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
Talking about it, I'm not sure where it is.
Yeah, you better find that. That was. I remember seeing that, and I thought that's really an interesting one because it was curled like that. That was really cool.
I can tell you at least 2 trowels lost on the island somewhere.
Now those will be a future archaeologist will find
about
those
200 years.
Yeah.
Some guy come walking around along with a metal detector.
On season 32 of The Curse of Oak Island. Yeah.
It's Templar, baby.
No, it's tempered.
Tempered. Oh, sorry, I misread. Yeah. Oh man. Go ahead, Tom. I think you had
so the Ball Foundation we know is a favorite spot of Laird's. But Emma, do you have a favorite spot on the island? If you could go poke around, where would it be?
The lab.
The lab.
Beside the lab.
Besides the lab.
Exclude the lab.
She would want the forge we haven't found yet.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The what? Say that again. The what?
Forge.
If there is a forge on the island, I would love it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
That would give you a lot of data.
Yeah, I would go a lot for that.
Yeah.
Ironically, Helen and I have actually excavated a forge together. We both have excavated it.
Yeah. Interesting. I know there was that section when they were following the road, the stone road going up along the this would be the northeast, along the east side of the swamp, and they were following the road up there, and then they got to the section that was it looked like there had been a fire there or something, like maybe a stove, or they were cooking there.
Yeah.
What was your take on that? You found a lot of pottery?
You didn't see any of those, did you?
No, I haven't.
She's all about, she wants stones and clinker.
Mm.
So it was I don't know, it was a forge. It was kind of red.
I could also analyze a burnt surface too and see what kind of.
But it was a deposit from, so it was dumped from either a forge or a stove.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what that was.
Okay, so it wasn't actually, because we were trying to figure out at that time. Of course, me and my speculating, which I never do, of course, was to say that there was some kind of maybe a bunkhouse or a food, because there are obviously a lot of people around building that stone road and the platform, and now we know the ramp and all that.
So this was actually quite close to where Anthony Graves had his barn. His barn was 20 meters away.
Okay.
And the artifacts we found from it were more of the Graves era. We were working on that, and then we started to find the stone flakes in that area.
Emma, how many times have people brought you something that made you laugh?
On the island?
Yeah. I mean, anything they brought you and they said, we want you to check this out. And you were just like, really? I mean,
people like to laugh.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
Japanese in her.
No, but there's a few times, but like, it's not, I'm still going to scan
corn
it.
nuts.
Yeah, I was going to say corn nuts as well, but that was me.
That was you. But even if something is modern, I'll still scan it. And I mean, even false data is useful data for me. So that's the whole purpose of research, is to know something is correct or not. And if something's not correct, you know that it's not correct, so you don't follow that path. So even modern stuff or ridiculously just, like, okay, that's definitely not gold, I can scan that. So I have that as a reference line as modern and things that are not gold. I don't know. It's data.
We had something. It wasn't laughable, but we were looking for somebody to work with us, and I had a resume of someone, and I sent her a message, and she said, "Oh, I just took a job somewhere else at a museum." And I said, "Oh, we have this equipment. You should go in and see Emma." And so she actually dropped in to see Emma, and Emma was working on coins at the time.
Yeah.
And so the woman said, "Oh, I have some coins from the museum." And how many did she drop off?
277.
She just like,
wow.
She brought an envelope because she's like, "Do you want any material to scan for your database?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What do you need?" I was like, "Anything with a date and provenance, that'd be great." She's like, "Oh, here's some coins, yeah." It's like, we're just collecting dust in a museum,
including 5 gold coins. They're small gold coins, but a couple of American half cents and things like that.
It's a great collection. I don't think they know how great their collection is, but she came over with an envelope and she just handed it to me, and I just fell on the ground because the weight was just so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. I was like, "Thank you so much."
Wow.
Yeah.
207 coins.
Now I'm assuming that you're, when somebody, if that's during the filming season, you're, anything that the guys bring you takes precedent, of course, I would imagine. But
this was all off season.
Yeah,
off season not done, but
I was just just by myself.
I went through and identified every coin on pretty much every
You did
coin.
a great. You were in your zone.
I had an app.
Yeah. It looked really cathartic.
There's an app for that.
There is an app for that. For the most part, but not 100%.
So what was the source for these coins again? Was it like in and around Nova Scotia, or was it from?
Yeah, it was a museum in Bridgewater.
Oh, okay.
But the coins being like, found under cabinet, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So we only know the origin of a couple. The rest we have no idea. And they were from Chinese to Iberian gold coins. I think the earliest one was 1603.
Was that the Chinese?
No, there was a.
Yeah, a couple Ottoman too.
Yeah, sorry, the Ottoman gold.
Ottoman gold, yeah.
So, what was your reaction when the expert looked at the Roman coin and said, this is Roman.
In my mind, I wasn't actually surprised.
Mhm.
You could see the patina. You could see that it was worn. Why it was a half coin, I don't know. I can live with Roman. I was just telling people that I Googled, if you Google Roman artifacts in North America, you'll find out the majority came in the Second World War.
Oh.
Okay.
And that's what I said. Of course.
Makes total sense. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. People bringing home their little treasures.
Yeah.
Right.
Spoils of war.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Emma, so, we talked a little bit about the time when you and Laird were mentioning when you found the gold content in the wood and you guys headed up to the money pit right away.
Yep.
What was that? Describe that scene for us a little bit when you got up there. And I mean, we all saw it and we were clapping right there with everybody else. But I mean, describe that for us a little bit. How did that,
it was a blur. No, it was just quick because I found it. I double checked it. We reported it, and then I triple checked it. And then they just showed up with all their vehicles, just rolled right in, told us to hop on in. And it was just, there's no time to react. You're like, this is what's happening. You're going to come to this point. And I remember just arriving at the money pit, and there's just a circle of men.
It was a big scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it was and I don't go up to the money pit very often. No. Yeah. So it was an experience. It was overwhelming, but
it's one of those cases where
no reaction.
Well, no, it's one of those cases where someone like me says, okay, it means nothing to you. You want to do further study, but I'm like, okay, production has to know.
Right. Yeah.
Because part of what we're doing is
the
TV show.
Totally cool. Yeah.
Right. Great.
Must have been quite a shock to go up there and see basically the whole cast and crew.
The whole area was cleared out for cameras and for that men. And you arrive in and you're like, all right, cue the car. So you drive in and you can't see the cameras, but they're in the forest somewhere.
Yeah.
You're just trying to focus on the circle of everyone standing there. Yeah.
But it was significant data.
It was significant data.
It's significant data, and it created a terrific scene to watch too for the viewers of the show.
Absolutely.
It was a very genuine scene to watch.
It really was a genuine scene. Yeah, that's they did capture that very well. And that's kind of one of the things, it's obviously, and we go through this throughout the season, talking about it, obviously here on the podcast, I talk about every episode, all 25 of them, every Wednesday night, after the show is on Tuesday, excuse me. And, there's that bit between what's happening on the island and the TV show. And, the creative editing that they get into. And I don't know, Emma, if you watch the show, it's none of my business. If we know Laird doesn't really watch it. So, and that's probably a good thing, really, because, they have the liberty to kind of, again, go back to that, edit it the way they want. They have a job to do. They have a show to produce and sell to the History Channel, and then History Channel puts it out. And they want to create the hype. They want to create the gold knob that turns out to be brass and that sort of stuff, going to the lipstick case, the
cane topper,
the cane topper and things like that. They have to do those things. And we kind of go, why do they have to? But they do. They need to create that and keep things going. So, with that, there's a lot of things that pass that way, but I think that most people, honestly, that watch the show understand what is going on for you all and how you are working to actually get to the answers rather than create a TV show. I think we all understand that very well. And I think that's why when I mentioned a bit about the archaeology and what you guys do is so important. And I've said many times that, the cameras could go away tomorrow without finding a thing more. And yet I know that in my opinion is that Rick would keep going.
Yep.
regardless, because he wants those answers of who, what, why, where, and when.
You'd see Rick and Jack on the island.
What's that?
You'd see Rick and Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Would you be part of that? Would either of you continue if you were asked to stay on and just keep after it?
If Rick needed me to do something, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I kind of knew the answer to that already. I kind of figured you would.
Yeah, and I mean, they liked it so much they bought the island, right?
There you go. Yep.
Well, but yeah, they got pretty much all of it. I mean, again, we were all so happy when we found out that they got lot 5. That was fantastic. Other than lot 5, and because we're not going to go down that road, what other areas would you say are yet really kind of undiscovered, or you'd like to go back to? We know about the Ball property. We talked about that. What else do you think is an important place that really needs to be looked at, as long as it doesn't infringe on what may be happening?
I think I'm still interested in lot 24.
Okay.
The shoreline lot 24, lot 25 hasn't really been explored, and the vegetation is a little bit different in there. And of course, lot 24 in season 4, or was it 5? Season 5. No, season 4. Gary found a lot of significant things, and that's what ended up in me being called in more or less full time, is to shadow Gary. So something went on there that we're not quite certain of.
Wow.
And then of course offshore lot 26 is pretty interesting, because we had the naval commanders, the master commanders button from the Ball property. So I'm really interested in that area. Lot 30 is kind of interesting. 32 is another Ball area that we should really explore.
Yes, 32 was the last lot he got, right? Or one of the last ones that he got, and that was a government grant. So to me, it was always, why would you use up a government grant to buy half a swamp?
Yeah. It's an odd shaped lot. I know we figured it with Aaron Helton. We figured out how much acreage he would have been cultivated, and a fair bit of lot 32 he couldn't cultivate it.
Here's kind of an interesting question from Betsy. She said, Laird, as someone who has probably seen archaeology from other places far beyond Oak Island, what do you feel is the most historic or important or significant find on Oak Island so far that you can talk about? A lot of us, we've seen things like, the lead cross. That was huge, of course, and all that. But I mean, what do you think?
Wow. That's a good question. It's funny, archaeologists aren't used to concentrating on just one.
Right.
Yep. I know when Alex found the Master and Commander's button.
Ah, yes.
He found that, and then we talked about the wharves, and we, at the same time we were looking at how much cabbage could Samuel Ball grow, and what that translated to in sauerkraut. That was kind of an exciting avenue that just kind of dead ended. It didn't happen. But for artifacts, like for picking up an aha artifact, I haven't found one yet.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what we get excited about, we pick up a big piece of coarse earthenware or something. And, so what we're excited about is pretty mundane in other people's eyes.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, we're going to wrap up here pretty quickly, because I know it's later. It's an hour later for you guys than it is for us. But I did have to, ask a little bit about, now, I don't know if this is someplace we can go or not. So if it's not, please say so. But the lot 26, the well and the wall, that we saw the dismantling of the archaeology that you took place on the wall itself. And kind of trying to piece together of how, you had the larger stones on the outside and then the fill inside. It's so wide. and so well built. I mean, is it really truly just a wall? I mean, can you talk about that at all? Or
No.
is there more going on? Okay. All right. All right. And in the well too, you know, they said, you know, Ian said that he found, you know, silver content in the water of the well. And then you guys cleaned it off and you found that whole area around it that, you
Yeah.
know, was uncovered. Again, are we done there or is there more maybe to come on the well itself too?
I don't think we're done there.
Okay. All right.
It's funny. I just went back and looked at it. It's just this algae covered. You wouldn't even know it was a well.
Again, right? Yeah.
But when it was completely empty, it recharged in about 20 minutes.
Wow.
With nice fresh water.
Wow.
Yeah, you saw the.
I tasted it.
Did you taste it?
Helen, I tasted it.
Oh, I didn't do that. But you used the GPR and saw the streams.
Oh, the stream water. Yeah. Okay, I'm on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, intriguing well, for sure.
Yep.
Again, one I assumed belonged to Paul.
Yeah.
So somebody asked.
Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody asked a question that when you do find something even more significant than you've found now, and you've got to maintain your poker faces, what's your secret? How do you maintain your poker face? Laird's doing his now.
Poker face. I mean, I know I roll my eyes a lot.
Yeah, we've seen that actually.
I don't know. It's funny. I've often thought of the scenario if I'm excavating and all of a sudden 5 gold coins drop out. What would I do? Which is an interesting conundrum, right? Most archaeologists would just bag them. And I'd be like, oh, I have to call production. And
so
we recreate this, and who should find it?
You're actually, oh shit.
Yeah, you might.
Well, I tell you what, we're really excited, and hopefully, you know, everything is progressing for a season 11. And I know we're not going to really talk about that, but there's so many of us, the fans of the show, and of you guys personally, that we want to see. We want to see a season 11. We want to get some answers. Something that they said in the drilling down here that was just on last week. You know, Marty had said. That he would really like to see vindication of what they're doing out there. And I think we would too, all of us. You know, whether or not there's treasure there, but I think that there was at some point, there was something very significant going on. And unfortunately, you know, it's gotten muddied by looking at all the different dates of the different things, looking at the well being so old. And the wall, and then you've got the platform, the ramp, and then you've got that platform and the stone road, and all these dates that are all over the place. You know, you've got the different Portuguese and the, you know, all the different peoples that could have been there or probably were there over the years. It almost seems like Oak Island was just a place that so many people knew about, and we're all traveling there and hanging out there for whatever reasons over different time periods. Is that kind of the sense you get of it too?
Oh, that's a favorite Rick question. You know, if you went to any other island in Mahone Bay, would you find what we're finding here? And to me, it's no. I can't imagine doing that.
Yeah. Wow.
And as far as season 11 is, I can parody Jack Begley, because he'll go, will there be a season 11? He said, I can neither confirm or deny.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. Well, we certainly hope that there is, and we'll be ready to talk about it and carry on. But I tell you what, you two and Helen, and you know, and we didn't see Liz last year, but Miriam as well. You all, and please pass this on to Helen and to Miriam or whoever else may be joining for another season if there is one. You all are very appreciated in our eyes and our minds. What you do on the show is of immense importance in solving all of this. And I got to hand it to you for the hard work that you do and for the finds and the information. and the data collection that you're doing. I think that you guys, you know, you guys are going to be the ones that really, I think, start coming down with the answers as to what's happening there. So,
I hope so.
yeah, I really do.
I mean, that means a lot. I know over the years, I felt I must be doing my job right because I'm hated by this group and I'm hated by this group and I'm hated by this group. So it's gratifying to hear support.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we do. I know all of us do, and that's why we love having you on and coming on here and just kind of describing for us a little bit about the whole process. So I really do appreciate it very, very much. Tom, any final thoughts or questions?
No, just to echo what you said, like for me being a maritimer, proud maritimer, and the work you guys are doing, putting Oak Island and Nova Scotia on the map, you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Emma, I got to tell you, you did fantastic. Thank you so much for letting Laird talk you into coming on the show. When Laird told me, when I first reached out to him and he told me that, hey, I might get Emma to come on, I was like, no way.
I have extreme camera anxiety.
Well, you don't show it at all. You did a fantastic job. And maybe a little bit of the wine helped or something. I don't know.
It really did. No, I worked through it.
But anyway, yeah, so you guys are fantastic. So thanks again for coming on. And I tell you what, folks, thanks for joining us here tonight. We really do appreciate everybody that we had over 200 people here tonight watching. And I'm sorry about the questions, but as you know, the questions are one of those things that for when we have guests, you have to put them in advance. Through the Facebook group page.
For those people that did get them in, I think we got pretty much most of them covered. So
there was a lot of double ones on here. You know, I was trying to cover them all, but you guys did a fantastic job. So thank you very much, folks. Thank you all for watching here tonight. And we're going to have more interviews with other people when we talk certain people that are in Facebook watching tonight. And Steven, I don't know what's happened to Steven. We haven't heard anything from him. He's like off the radar now. I don't know what's going on with him. I've reached out to him, but
who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But we'll get Mr. Does he still have his own makeup trailer on the island? I don't know.
No. No, he's actually gotten over that, I think.
All right. Well, good. Well, I'll keep taunting him and we'll get him back on here. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And we'll have more shows, like I said, coming up later in the summer with more of the Curse of Oak Island cast members. Again, thank you so much. We'll catch you next time right here on the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream in J Free 906. Good night, everyone.
See you later.